absolutely.
Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay.
First and foremost, thank you for the time, the interview, and the opportunity you've given us this weekend. We really appreciate it, and it's a true blessing for us. So we just want to say thank you so very much for that.
You're very welcome. I feel like, we met Virginia, I think it was last year.
We did.
And, we had short conversations and something of an interview that I was not really prepared for, but it worked great. And I just like to, I know we asked you to come and help us do today. And so I appreciate that. And so thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
First off, congrats on the new son-in-law in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
How you feeling on that one?
I've been very lucky. 7 daughters.
Oh,
and
goodness.
So they've married here and there. And so far they've done a really good job of selecting someone to be married to. And so, it's kind of funny. They say when it goes right, you don't lose a daughter, you gain a son.
Right.
And Adam, who married my daughter Racy in Vegas, he's the prime example of that. I mean, he's just a really nice guy, a great guy, and I just really appreciate him. So it was very good. It was emotional time for all of us. We had all the family in one place. We don't do that very often. There's just a lot of nuances to it, but it was a good time in Vegas.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Seeing your post on Facebook about it, I was like, oh, it's bittersweet. Like you said, you're not losing a daughter, you're gaining a son. But
when it's right.
But there's two perspectives to that, so it all depends on the perspective of how you feel about it, I guess, parent-wise.
Yeah, and like I said, that's really about the person. It's like you have children, right?
I have a 5-year-old daughter.
Yeah, well, you're going to experience 2 things in your life. You will experience a 14-year-old girl, and I'll just tell you, as you probably remember, nothing is worse than a 14-year-old girl. Like, there's a year of pain in being a father where 14-year-old girls are trying to find themselves in the world without you. And so they kind of go through this stretch where every one of mine did anyway, where you're just a dummy. And so
you know nothing.
Yeah, you don't know anything, you're a dummy, and then it comes back around as they age. And I think we also age. Like a parent, you become more patient. But that 14-year-old thing you go through, and then to see them go through the next phase of their lives, which you go through some others, but then you get into the phase of their lives where they're choosing who. And you just hope that over time, you've kind of modeled with who they should want to be with and how that should work, and you just hope for the best. And
right.
they've all done pretty well.
That's good. I didn't know you had 7 daughters. That's something I've learned new. How old is your oldest daughter?
Well, let's see. I don't want to tell you how old I am, but that would be 54. So she's 34.
Oh, okay. So she's a year younger than we are.
Yeah, she was not a mistake. She was a surprise.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, and it follows the pattern of me. Like, I was not a mistake. I was a surprise. And I guess it's just how our family does it. And,
right.
And, it's also, I think, the same kind of thing there, where it's not what happens, it's what you make of it.
Exactly.
And Racy was such a blessing in our lives, and she's been fantastic.
That's awesome. And how old is your youngest daughter?
Faith. So Racy is the oldest. Faith is 20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we were empty nesters, which brings about other challenges and drama of, as your children age through these cycles. It's fun. Now we have 9 grandchildren.
Oh goodness. Any boys?
Yeah, it's a good question, because if you got all girls, we got all girls where you think, well, you flip a coin 7 times, heads comes up once, right?
Right.
Well, so we started off with 2 granddaughters, and I thought, oh boy, here we go.
The chain reaction is not the way the dominoes
this is
are
not
falling.
looking like a very good. This is like the same path we've been down, right? And then we had grandsons, and it's pretty balanced. We have 4 grandsons, 5 granddaughters, and so
awesome.
It's back to normality, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, any of your daughters or grandchildren have the racing bug like you?
No, not as much, not in the same way. I got it young, 14 years old, or 10 actually. I saw my first street race and thought, that's the coolest thing, I'm going to do that. My dad said, that's the dumbest thing ever, but don't listen to Dad, because I was also coming up in age, but just it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of money, and it's generally a male-dominated sport anyway, and so I just missed them. We have singers like Mom, and we have girls that are in the business with me.
Oh, okay.
But they didn't take to racing quite the same way.
I gotcha. That's Dad's thing.
Yeah, and I think the era also changed. The era of my generation was cruising. We all got in cars and cruised and showed them off. It's just kind of how it was. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, listen, my stepdad is, he'll be coming up 60 next year, and he has a 69 Chevy Camaro that he's rebuilt. This is the 3rd one he's owned, and that's all he used to talk about was
cruising,
going out, taking him out to the little cruising car shows and stuff like that.
I miss it. In all honesty, I miss it. I know it's a generation gone by, but it was a good time.
It definitely sounds like it. It's something, if you could go back in time, that's one era I would love to go in and just experience that.
Yeah. Hey, babe.
Hello?
Oh, are you filming?
Yeah, we're just interviewing. You good?
Well,
you
let me just wash my hands
Do what you gotta do.
because I did the shoots.
We're not
And
worried.
your beautiful wife just had a birthday not too long ago. Happy belated birthday, Miss Melody.
55 years old.
Yeah.
She does not look her age at all.
Yeah.
Well, thank
And
you.
you don't look your age at all either.
Thank you. She's now my old lady for the next 4 months.
Yeah. Hey, it's an endearing term, so it's not like it's a bad thing.
No.
And there's all this stigma around people saying, "Well, that's my old lady," but it's actually an endearing term if you think about it.
She's an older lady. I get to say
He
that.
likes it.
She cougared me,
Hey, nothing wrong there. How's the team doing this season so far? How do you feel y'all are doing?
We started off a little slow. Most of it was the car was rebuilt. We didn't get it back until right before the first race. Rebuilt it from Rockingham, where I crashed it, and so it was getting on top of the chassis and the new combination. We were lucky that we got to go to Australia in February and March and race the old car we changed it over to Pro Charger.
Right.
And so we got to go test that and learn things and grow. That really made a difference to where we were ready to go. But we were just a little bit behind early in the season.
Right.
So now we've caught up, and you got Alan there now sneaking into the motorhome.
And happy birthday to you.
Yeah, it's Alan's birthday.
Whole truck full of dudes walking along through the hotel parking lot this morning like, Scourge, happy birthday! I'm like, Jared's like, who are those guys? I don't fucking know.
People who saw the internet. So yeah, the great thing about this team, we learned early on, our first 2 years, we made mistakes. We talked about this. We just made a lot of little mistakes. So we learned we want someone who's consistent, to always do the same things, to keep it. So we brought our wives onto the team, which has its own merits and challenges.
Right.
So our wives are part of the team. They do the things in between the rounds, and you're gonna see this. So they'll do the things not in between the rounds, but when I'm rolling the car up, all of the things they're like a big part of what we do. And we learned also in 18 and 19 we could not have professional tuners like everybody else does, and most of the other teams do. We don't. Like, there's just very few teams that do all of their own tuning and work like we have done. And I just said to Alan after one time, I said, look, can you do this? Because this is crazy.
Right.
And here's what was happening. We were taking the car and testing it like crazy with professional tuners. And what they learned on our car testing, they then gave to others when we were at the next race.
Yeah, I was wondering about that with so many teams using the same tuner. And
well, there's an advantage to that for sure, because you get 5 shots at the track and you learn things and you go to the next round. There is an advantage to it. The advantage to us is my tuner doesn't have to worry about another car, doesn't have to worry about other things. He just worries about our car. Alan has learned a lot, and he's grown a lot. He's really good, you know, and it balances out the team, where now our entire team is a unit, and
right.
we all have our thing to do on the car. We all have our time and place in the rounds, and we've learned it so well that it's just changed our dynamic of our team. So the team has done really, really well. They've grown. We started out 24th. We've worked our way up now to 8th and 9th. We're kind of in that range. And we just got to keep chipping away at it. And we've had silly things happen. Hey, it's drag racing. One little thing goes wrong, and you're just done.
it's a domino effect.
Oh, it's so hard. So yeah, no, the team is great. And now you just saw 2 of them have turned older this week, and so we're more like a little family. Brian, who you'll see who. Our main mechanic, Brian and I have known each other since high school.
Wow.
So we grew up together. He's from the same area. We just have incredible relationships, and that's something very different. You know, and again, it brings inherent challenges and inherent advantages.
Right, but it's really awesome that you can share this with a childhood friend.
Sure.
And I'm sure that's made y'all's friendship that much closer over the years. But to have a lifelong friend that can come along on this journey with you is something a lot of people don't get to experience. So
yeah, and honestly, about a year, it's been about a year and a half now. I bribed him. I mean, he was in Dodge City, Kansas, ASE Master Tech for a Dodge dealership where he'd been for a very, very long time. And he wanted to be on the team. I wanted him to be on the team. I kept telling him, like, if you can come over and learn our generator business, you will be great at it very fast. And by the way, you'll get to go to all the races with us and help us. And it took a little while to convince him. So he has. In a year and a half, he's become one of our best on the job. And he's become an integral part of our race team that's helped us so much to get over the hump. Because it used to be Alan and I had to jump in and do the mechanical things. Well, that takes away from Alan sitting down with the computer, looking at all the graphs, the data that came in, and getting it right.
Right.
And it take away from me from fan time, to be honest, which is such a big deal now that the sport is so big. And so, Brian, I trust him with anything. Basically, you're trusting him with your life. It's your car, and so I trust him implicitly. That's unusual.
Right, and that's a hard thing to find when you trust somebody that much, knowing, look, I have to get into this car and go at these high rates of speed, and you don't want that in the back of your mind of one wrong thing and it's over, it's done. And it's good that you have that way you don't have that, in a sense, a paranoia voice in the back of your head saying, is something going to go wrong? And you can just focus on what you're here to do. And
that's exactly what I learned as a driver. What I want to do is take all of what could be a distraction off, so that all I have to think about is, what do I do? Do I hit my marks? Do I do the right things every time? And then hit the light.
Right.
And then you got to drive it. Driving is instinct. It's natural instinct and time. I grew up driving only on dirt roads really fast, and so I'm used to loose cars, and so I think that's where it gives me a little bit of a good, makes me a good driver.
Right, and it definitely would give you an advantage to out there if you to.
It also could be a disadvantage because you might drive it too far.
That overcorrection is a definite possibility at times.
Maybe not overcorrection, but you'll drive through what you think is
a safe limit.
Yeah. You got to get a little. That's tough to figure out.
Right. So, the new thing this year, everybody's.
Oh, the super team.
Yeah. How is that dynamic going?
You know, I actually like it. And I like it different reasons than people might think. We started our No Prep Kings, you know, with Ryan. Well, we'd met him through some other struggles, and he kind of helped us get going. And then so we were happy when they did what they did and when Ryan chose us. So I'm happy with our team. I'm happy with even the changes we made during season. And look, here's the other thing that people get into, right? Chuck was on the team with me originally. Oh, you and Chuck. No, Chuck, here's what I don't understand that I wish people, if there's anything you could get across in the interview that you'd want to say, it would be like this. If two people are in competition together against each other a lot, you're always going to have something that pops up. Right? Something's going to come where you get sideways a little bit. I think what determines a man, I say man, any human, is can you get over it, and can you become, you know, can you work that out? And Chuck and I worked it out. All of us have. Nate Saylor joined the team. Nate and I had a small bump. Wasn't any big deal. Everybody thinks it's a bigger deal than it was. Look, we just let things go. That's what you do. You can move on. You know, we got over it. We're mad at the moment. Hey, shit happens. Then you move on.
Right. And just don't hold a grudge over it. It comes down to pettiness, holding a grudge and stuff like that.
I feel sorry for people that hang on to the grudge. I mean, it's got to be so heavy to keep carrying all that. I just let it go and move on. And you know, if you're mad at everybody that wrongs you and you hang on to it and never let go of it, you'll just be mad all the time.
Exactly. You'd be a very unhappy person.
Yeah, and I know unhappy people like that. I'm just not that kind of person. I mean, I'm mad in the moment. I'll give you the business, and then we're done. We'll move on.
Exactly. I'm going to say my piece and move on.
Yeah, maybe hopefully a week later we shake hands, call it good, and have a beer.
Exactly. Racing in a team dynamic like this, that will be hard to work with somebody that doesn't let things go because it's going to create hostility and tension within the team. Yeah. And the team's not going to do well.
Even the team itself, right? We have to race each other at some point.
Exactly.
If you're going to go to the finals and win, you're going to race one of those teammates somewhere along the way. Even if it's in the finals, if they make the finals with you, you got to be able to get past that stuff and realize that it's racing or whatever. I mean, and sometimes people do mess up and do things they shouldn't have or whatever. And you got to let that go.
Right.
I've done it. They've done it to me. It is what it is.
Right. Like, what was it? It was about Disco Dean with hitting the cone.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm over that too. But, you know, in the moment, Dean and I that was several years ago, we were quite sideways over it. It wasn't in No Prep Kings, but we were, and I told him how I felt. I made sure he understood. And we're all past it. Dean and I are buddies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially in this sport, it's one of them things. Yes, be competitive, but you scratch my back, I scratch your back. Yeah. It's like a big family. Y'all may not necessarily get along or agree with one another, but like Alan, and then Friday night we're helping out Nate. Yeah. It's what you do.
We gave Nate our blower last week when he broke his. We gave him our spare. You just do those things as a team, and you do, and it didn't have to be on the team, and we would do that for them.
Right.
That's just camaraderie, and that's a group of 32 people that spend more time together than they do with anybody but their closest family.
Right.
And so I think you just build those relationships, and there's nobody out here we don't appreciate in certain ways. Hi.
Hello.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, look at that. Cherish Martin, everyone.
I just came to get coffee creamer because I'm above.
And Tara. Yeah. Coming in for some coffee, you can have some.
Just creamer. I have coffee. I just
One's a 0 sugar if you want that one. Let's see here. So what's the setup on high voltage that you got going?
Oh, the crashed car?
Yeah.
The still roughed up car?
Yeah.
Waiting on the insurance company to pay. But we have that car set up with a Pro Charger Hemi just like this one. We wanted to get consistent. So we just set it up like this one and slid the engine back where it should be for street racing. But it's certainly all dinged up now, still from Australia.
Right.
As we... it's kind of a funny thing. The insurance company, this should be a pretty easy deal, right? They crashed the car. They did what they did. Like, you knew what it was when it went in the box. We told you what it was worth. We told you it was fresh. It was brand new. We just painted it. We just moved the engine back.
No.
We just put all this work into it, and then they crashed it. So high voltage is a pretty badass car. Set up similar to this one, but more set up for street. Whereas high velocity here is same setup. We wanted to get consistency, and we knew we were going in this direction. But different. This is a track car, and that is now a street car.
Gotcha.
Well, street racing car.
Right.
You're not gonna drive it down to the mall or anything, so not that kind of street car.
Right. So with high voltage going through what it's been through,
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine the heart drop
Mm-hmm.
when you open that container and
Mm-hmm.
seen that. And when he had said something to me and showed me, I was just like, it just a drop. Your stomach went in your throat, and it's even tough as fans like us to see something happen like that.
I know they won't show this probably on the show because they don't have it. But here's how I found out about it. We load the car at midnight after racing in Perth. It's going now to Brisbane across the continent. 40-some hour tow, right? We go home, go to bed. Now, time zone was so thrown off. Our time zones were so off that I couldn't. I struggled to get to sleep, and so I
Right.
didn't get to sleep till late. So I slept in the morning. I wake up in the morning and look at my phone. I have all these missed calls. It's unusual for me to get this many calls, right? I had a whole bunch of them. I looked, and 3 of them were Ryan Martin. So I thought, oh, something's wrong. So I hit Ryan, picked the phone. The first thing Ryan says is, "Hey, dude," or "Hey, bro, have you seen the internet?" I said, "No." He said, "Don't look."
Oh no.
That's how I found out about my car. Everybody else already knew my car had been crashed.
Oh
Knew
no.
it was in a container wrecked. I heard about it from Ryan. So it was you're right. It was a big moment of, and here's what's funny. I never was worried about the car being crashed. I was worried about making the next race. Is that not dumb? Like, this is how dumb we are. Like, I immediately thought, well, how am I gonna make the next race? Is it bad? Is it crushed? Is it, I wanted to go see it to know, can it be repaired? So that's why when we went and looked at it the first time, and you'll get to see this on the Australia show. When we went and saw it first, I took Lutz with me. I took a chassis guy to say, hey, let's just look at it and confirm with Alan, and we just wanted to look it all over and say, do we think we can make this raceable or not? And
Right.
so that was but when they opened that container and it's propped up on its side, stuck against the wall with this toolbox stuffed on one side, and that's when I thought, it's not going to be repairable if it's stuck like that. And then someone had already sent me a photo of it, and the container had been on its side, and the car was upside down. The car was laying on its top with the container on its side, and then they flipped it over. And that's how it got stuck on the wall, because when they flipped it over, the toolbox flopped with it and stuck it on, and so the car's cocked.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know it completely flipped.
Right. So that's how I saw the videos, and that's when I thought, I don't know how we're going to be able to race this car again.
That's a good thing for that roll cage in there.
Yeah, and a well-built car.
Exactly.
That car was built by Blake Housley and Terry Murphy, and it was a really well-built car too, and then upgraded all by RJ. Solid car, but we had things that needed to be fixed.
Right. And we've seen the first episode of Australia, and just to...
It was a good episode, I think.
I agree. I think y'all upset the Australia guys pretty well.
Oh, we got them fired up. Wait till you see the next ones. Ooh. And then there's one guy that upsets me. That'll be exciting.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, because you see the little snippets on TV, and, one thing people don't realize, that the people don't have the opportunity like us to come and meet y'all,
Mm-hmm.
is how much TV misconstrues a point of view of somebody, of how they actually are.
Well, I mean, you can look at that negatively, or you can look at it and here's the way I see it. They're come to the track, the TV show, and it's reality TV. So they're going to take hundreds of hours of footage, right? And your worst 2 minutes is what'll get shown.
Exactly.
And the reason is, who wants to watch you just stand around and talk?
Right.
Who wants to watch you just stand around and hug people, right? Like, that's not cool. What's cool? Man, we got in a fight, or we did something stupid, or we aggravated someone. That's making TV. And so I think if anything that I could have anyone realize, it would just be, hey, what you see are the worst moments. Take that as it is, and realize that there were hundreds of other hours where we were, teams, and everybody was working together in a different way. But also remember that wouldn't be quite as cool as the controversy and the things, and there is controversy. But it's in short bursts and moments. They just put it all together like it looks like it just is the way it is, and really they're just compacting time. But yeah, it's okay. It's
right.
Part of the experience is understanding that you're on a reality TV show. I had to get over that too and remember, like there's been an incident where to me they showed it all one-sided, right? And so for me to look at that and go, well, you know what? You chose to be on a reality TV show.
That's true.
This is the way it's going to be. Are you okay with that? And it didn't take me but 5 minutes to go, well, yeah. So it is what it is. There's the positive sides will show, and the people who want to see the positive sides will see it, and the people who only want to see the negative sides will see that. And that's human nature too, right? And so I don't worry about it.
And that's how you got to be.
Yeah.
Especially with you're on TV. You're
Yeah.
having your life, parts of your life filmed. So, I mean, the good and the bad comes with the good, and vice versa.
And I made a conscious decision that I would be me. In other words, you make me mad, or you do something I think is, I'm gonna tell you about it. Or if there's something like I'm not the kind of person in life or in business or in family where we don't talk about what are problems. You know what I mean? And so
Exactly.
or express. These are the consequences of this problem, and so there are times where that people just, I don't think that's how normally maybe people do it, and it aggravates, but also they don't get to see all of the circumstances that led into it. It's just, they just show the drama of the moment, not what led to it, and so, or why it would be, and hey, it's just, it's part of the experience.
That's definitely a good point there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what perception people perceive. It's reality TV.
They're going to make perceptions.
Exactly.
And you can't really, I mean, you have, people are going to take things differently. If you may, like when I was in college, there was a class where they, and I wasn't in this class, but I heard about it. They had a guy run in, yell at everyone, throw something at the teacher, and then run out. And then they asked everyone in the class to write down what they just saw, what they experienced, right? What did he look like? What was he wearing? All that kind of stuff. It is amazing how much of the class missed it and only saw what they saw, but that to them was real. And so people are going to do the same thing with a TV show. They're going to watch a show, and pieces of them are going to hit them harder, and other pieces will hit somebody else and be like, it's just human. It's so human.
Right. Like if you, like in the first episode of Australia,
yeah.
It showed snippets of how people had issues and have come
Yeah.
together to work
Yeah.
with, and like I said to him, I've seen a couple snippets of Scott Taylor not getting along with this person or not getting along with that person, but in the end you see just
those are hot, intense moments.
Exactly.
Where you're under the pressure of competition, you're under the pressure of trying to win, you're under all and you think you've been screwed basically, and so you release that and hey, that's what I mean by some people will hide it or whatever. Or, I'm going to be good for the camera. Well, I don't care. Like, I don't have to have a TV show. I'm blessed. I don't have to have whatever it is that people may think, the fame, the money. Like, that's not important to me. And so I'm just going to show out who I am and let it go. And sometimes, like I said, they'll show the worst parts of that, not the best.
Right. Well, that's TV. That's reality TV.
That's right.
Let's see. So, heard about the protest in Vegas. Can you share some details on that?
Yeah, and it was Nate, of course. And so, pretty simply, we went to make the run, and made the run. It was super close. Get down the other. So let me say this: Nate and I are cool, and none of this was ever meant to be. Look, I got protested twice in the last 2 seasons, right? I never made a big deal of it. It wasn't worth making a big deal of, and we passed each time. And it wasn't worth being mad about either. Part of our way we run things is No one will do anything about anything unless you protest it.
Right.
Right? So the only way to fix a problem you see, unfortunately, is to protest. And so we make the run, get done, and I've talked about this on my YouTube channel. We get a call from the other guys, Alan does, driving up, and they tell him, hey, when he was rolling in the beams, he's flickering the lights, there's something wrong with his car, just check it. So Alan tells me, hey, what do you want to do? I said, well, I guess go look. So he walks up to have a look. They get in a verbal altercation a little bit, and Alan comes back, and Alan's fiery. Hey, I feel like a couple things. I've said this about my wife, right? I mean, you've seen her get mad at people on TV too, and I feel like this: if your wife won't defend you, you better get a different one. That's your person. You're supposed to be together. You're supposed to be in total unison. And so, Alan and I are the same way. We've been together a long time, decades. And so, he comes back, nope, it's definitely way off, and it ain't even close, so I said, let me just go look. So, and I said, we're legal, right? He said, hey, we're absolutely, so let me just go look. So I walk up to look for myself. And I'll leave a lot of it out because, again, we buried the hatchet. But basically, what we're talking about is way off. Like, it's not even close. And so I then turned to walk away. I didn't say a word. I then turned to just walk away, and their team starts sniping at me. And I'll be out in 5 minutes.
They want to mic you pretty soon.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have to wait a bit. So, I told you I'm gonna be who I'm gonna be, and I'm funny about certain things. One of them is if I feel you're being dishonest, right? And so there was a statement made to me that I felt was just not right. Oh, that's not right. So I said, okay, well then let's just measure it. And so we did, and he was smart. He said, well, let's measure yours. And his missed by 1.5 inches, and mine missed by 1/8 of an inch. So, but missed by an inch, missed by a mile, you still missed. And
right.
So, he was smart about it. We were smart about it. And look, we were both mad about it at the time. And he was really mad about it because he felt like it was a personal attack, like we'd call him a cheater. Someone never called him a cheater. I just felt like what he was doing was stretching the rules beyond. I mean, there's we only have 2 pages of rules, and one of those pages is entirely weights, right? So we only really have 1-page rules. The outlaw rules are so simple; they're so easy to meet. If you're intentionally that far off, or accidentally that far off, and I'm not saying he was intentional. I'm just saying, even if you're accidentally that far off, like that's something you should correct. And
right.
So, it is what it is. In the end, I think it worked out the way it was supposed to. And Nate and I are all. And look, I think he just missed, and he was missing for reasons of moving the chassis around and never looked at it or whatever. But just one of those things.
Right. And I know they're looking for you. We've only got
I'm not worried.
A couple more.
Hey, they just want to mic me and they can wait.
Right. Speaking about the protest in Vegas,
Yeah.
How was it racing in Vegas for the first time?
Well, so I've been to Vegas a lot in that I have an office there and I've had business there for 20 years, but I've never raced there. So it was interesting. I raced in Arizona a lot, and it was very similar. The dry climate creates track conditions that are unique. And so I thought it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool from the standpoint of the venue was really neat. You had the F-22s flying over all the time from the Air Force Base. It was pretty cool.
It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's hopefully maybe one day a track will get to go out too. If I can convince him not to fly. I'm not a flyer.
Well, that's a long drive from North Carolina.
Hey, I'll drive. I will drive. I will take 2 weeks vacation to drive it.
Yeah.
But as far as a plane, I just haven't got that comfortable with the idea of it yet.
Got it.
Let's see. The accident in Rockingham was Australia, obviously, from what we've seen on the show, was the first time you had stepped back in the car.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the amount of emotions that were going through your head and your team and everything like that. But to do it in a completely different country, I'm sure that added a little more to it.
Oh, it's worse than that. We totally rebuilt the car and changed it. Like I said, converted it to Pro Charger from turbo, moved things around. So we were taking a whole new combination in basically a whole new car in a whole different side of the planet in a completely different conditions. Like, there were so many variables already to be concerned about.
Right.
And then there's the variable of the first time for me getting in the car after that. This is the first time I'll ever say, I don't know if scared is the right word, but nervous. Like, maybe that's the same thing.
Very anxious.
But super nervous about it, for sure. I was super nervous about it. And I really, I felt worse for Melody, because she endured more of the emotional part of the accident than I did. You always know yourself, and also I don't remember 2 days of it, so like the first 2 days of it, I don't remember. All I remember is launching and lifting off the throttle, and then the next thing I remember is talking to a doctor in the hospital 2 days later.
Wow.
So, she had to ride through the helicopter ride, me not being right in the head, not being able to answer questions, being completely off. I don't ever remember being completely off. And so she had 2 days of wondering, is my husband ever going to be right? Is he okay? And I couldn't breathe, a broken rib and one punctured a lung.
Ooh.
Different stuff that just you go through that she had to think more of than I did, because like I said, I just don't remember it.
Right. I can only imagine.
Yeah, and then to do it again in Australia, I really felt for her having to be, more emotional about that than I was. So I tried to stay strong so that she could be okay. And inside, my heartbeat is going like crazy. My stomach's rolling. But I also knew. Here's how I rationalized it. If this makes sense or not, I don't know. But this is just how I did it. I thought, okay, you've made thousands of passes, and you've never wrecked like that. So it's going to be thousands of passes before it happens again. Is that rational?
It's a good way to kind of calm yourself to think that.
It's not rational in any way.
No, it's not.
But it was my way of looking at the odds and kind of saying, okay, if it's 2,000 to 1, and I got to start flipping coins or, doing the odds, well, it's going to be a long time before it happens again.
Right.
So that gave me a lot of, I guess, solace to get back in the car. And I knew, it's a well-built car. This one's still, the other one, high voltage, was a well-built car also. I survived in a well-built car. I was hurt, but I wasn't, beyond, I didn't lose anything. I was very sore. I could not sleep, but I didn't lose anything, so. Yeah.
Right. All right. So this has been something that we've discussed. Bandamere. How do you feel about the last time at racing at Bandamere?
I'm a pragmatist. I just realized that the value of the property is so much, so overwhelming that, and you're seeing a lot of drag strips go away.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think it's because governments hate drag strips, different things like that. I don't think that's true, because Palm Beach, Bandamere, go down the list, Atlanta, go down the list of them. The problem is they were generally built somewhere remote, and then the city came to them. Right? Or they were built somewhere where they could be, in a place where they were zoned, able to make the noise, and then businesses came to them. And Bandamere is that place. And now the property is worth so much money. If we owned it, we would do exactly the same thing. We would sell the land. And I hear they're building one somewhere else, and that would be awesome. Take that money and invest it, because you could sell it, build one heck of a drag strip, and still have hundreds of millions of dollars in your pocket. Why wouldn't you do that? And so there's my pragmatist and business brain coming out going, well, that's just kind of how it goes.
Right. And that's understandable.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but it is sad to see these drag strips.
For sure. It's such a unique
tracks.
place. It's so beautiful. At Palm Beach, in the middle of a swamp, with places where you can go feed the alligators in the morning. Hell, we were there testing one time, and this little fox comes up, and we feed the fox. Like, it's just a super cool place, but it's gone.
Yeah. And it's sad to see tracks slowly disappearing like that.
And I think it's nearly impossible to permit them again and get one built. We're watching the guys in Kansas City go through it. It's been years. And now Scott Higgs is right on top of it. He's going to make it happen. But it just takes something. It's very difficult to do.
I can imagine. We have a local track in the Hampton Roads area from where we're from, Langley Speedway.
Mm-hmm.
At one point in time, due to things, thought they were going to have to shut it down, and then, because it's across from one of the NASA sites. So it's still going strong. A new owner came in, new negotiations were made and met, and it's still going strong, which is good.
Good.
So, but just to see local tracks slowly die out and disappear, it's for all of us that enjoy this sport, whether it's drag racing, track racing, dirt racing, what it may be, it's disheartening to see them go.
It is.
And it's, for better lack of terms, in that sense, kind of like a dying sport.
It is, from the standpoint of drag strips are dying. I think the interest in it is still high. Street Outlaws revived interest in the sport.
Definitely.
For sure it did. So, who knows where it goes from here. With all the electric weirdness and things like that. I mean, we'll just see if in 10 years we're not racing cars with real motors. Not engine.
Mm-hmm.
What we really call a motor. It'll be interesting. I don't know. I've looked at it and tried to figure out how to build an electric car, electric drag car. Couldn't come to a sense with the battery safety. But, that stuff's going to happen. Good, Alan? Everything good? Okay.
Right. So I know that Friday, Grudge racing seemed to go really well.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's the precursor in for today of how things are going to go.
Me too.
And then we had the break due to inclement weather yesterday, which I think was well needed for everybody.
Yeah.
So for today, what's the overall plan for today?
Well, I think track conditions will be good. Our plan is always to figure out the track on Friday night to prepare you for Saturday. And usually, this is Sunday now, but usually Saturday conditions change a lot. And so those who know how to change with conditions generally do better and stuff like that. And so in this case, we're going to try and keep up with the cool air and the cool track. The car is fast. The car is really fast. So I feel like we have maybe some top 4 or 5 fastest car here.
That's awesome.
And so, and I think we can keep proving that. We've made either I've had bad draws or breaks in the first round or stuff that's just been weird. It could happen again. Here's the worst part. You'll see this today. The first round is the most intense round, and as a driver, it's the worst. Because what you don't want to do is go out first. You just towed across the planet, and you get one run, you're going to go home. So you don't want to do that. We want to go a few rounds. For sure, we want to win it. I mean, you always want to win it. But, there are 31 other guys that want to win it too, and they're all pretty good at this. So it's tough. This is a really tough season. There are better cars, better drivers, and the cars that were here before, the guys here before are better. They all stepped up the game. They've all learned. It's tough.
Right.
But our goal, win it, and we'll try and win it with a super fast car.
There you go. And hopefully that is the case.
Yeah.
And you go all the way to the end. But with that being said, I have to ask, who's the one person here you don't want to match up against?
It's kind of a bittersweet deal. I never want to race Ryan Martin.
I don't think anybody does.
But I also always want to race Ryan Martin. And it's a weird thing. Because he's a good friend, and he also is super fast. You just don't want to race him. On the other hand, I mean, you're here to race Ryan Martin, and the king of no prep kings. That's who you want to get. Outside of him, I think it's a team thing. Like, you never want to race I've drawn a teammate 3 out of like 3 or 4 times, which is statistically almost impossible. We keep doing it.
Well, Lizzie's done proving that with drawing her teammates repetitively. Poor thing.
Ryan and I have drawn each other first round twice. I think that's statistically maybe 3,000 to 1. Last year, Murder Nova and I drew each other first round, I think 2 or 3 times in a row. I think that's statistically impossible, but we did it anyway. You know, just things like that are kind of weird. And I think outside of my team, then the next would be like, I don't want to race Sean because Sean is fast, and I have so much respect for Sean.
He's a good guy.
You know, Murder Nova. Just because of that, I wouldn't want to, because I wouldn't want to put him out first round, and I wouldn't want him to put me out first round because he's really fast.
Right.
Other than that, I think I'll just take on anyone. It's just part of it. You know, you're gonna have to, if you're gonna get to win a race, you're just gonna have to race someone, and that's how it goes.
Right. One last question. You brought up Murder Nova.
Yeah.
We seen where there was a trade done yesterday.
Yeah.
That was kind of.
Yeah.
That was a shocker for us to see it like last minute like that too.
Not for me. Because when you get down here at the end of the season, if you want to win a team championship, you got to get the right guys on your team. And look, there's enough money to float it back, and so they floated some cash and brought team, and I think for him it was a smart move. Ryan, I think, did a smart move before that, and that triggered Murder Nova to do the same thing, and so now I think you have. I have to think about Bodie's team, but you know, three really super solid. Kai's team is stacked from day one. Murder Nova's team is now stacked. Ryan, our team now is stacked. So you know, it's going to be a hell of an end to the shootout.
Yeah, that's like, speaking of Bodie, when he made the trade,
yeah,
he did. I was like, what is he doing?
Well, you know, he's doing what he has to do. I think if you realize you can't win it, then you want to maximize what opportunity you do have, and you want to set up guys. If guys on your team are your buddies, then you want to set them up for success too. And I get it all. It's pretty crazy, and it'll show good on TV when it comes around, because it'll
definitely
be back to the dramatic impact of it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And you know, like with Damon Merchant, he's had an amazing first year out. I will say that. But that trade, to me, Bodie, I was like, he's the big hitter on his team. What is he doing?
Well, you know, like I said, if you can't win a championship, put that guy on a team where he can.
Where he can excel.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing ultimately. Yes, it sucky that you want your team in this situation to be up there, but if you know your team can't necessarily make that cut, not to hold back the guys that are doing really well, such as Damon.
Yep. And I go back to that pragmatic instinct, right? Like it just makes sense, right? So I understand it from that level.
Right.
But I would also, it'd be hard to do.
I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's weigh your pros and cons here. Double-edged sword.
Everything in life.
Always.
There's a positive and a negative.
And then positive and negative react to each other. So it's all in how you look at it and which way you go with it.
Right.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have
as
of right now. And we do appreciate your time. Again, thank you for this opportunity that you've given us to work with you and everything of that nature. We are truly blessed, and we've been saying from the beginning how it's just amazing. We'd never think we'd be as a small channel, and just us two be in this position to have this opportunity. So we're still kind of awestruck over it.
I think of it like mutually beneficial. So if this is good for you, then it's good for me, and also having you here to do things like I asked you guys to do for us, which is get our team in action, get video of that. So I just appreciate you guys too. Don't forget that.
We appreciate you. This is like unreal, being able to get down on the starting line and like that and get that footage. It's like,
well, then let's have fun with it.
Exactly, and we're gonna have fun today. Let's win it.
We're gonna try.
Get it done today.
Things happen. We're gonna give it hell.
Awesome. Cool.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity, and good luck today. We're rooting for you.
We'll need it.